Well, winter has returned, apparently, and even I, a non-winter loving person, am a little bit relieved. It was getting to be kind of creepy that it wasn't winter here. I'll take the good fortune, but we're just not ready for all that Florida here yet. As I noted earlier, today is the birthday of two great souls, Charles Darwin and Abraham Lincoln, who share not only the same day, but the same year. And they share the same church, being in the stained glass above me to my left. You know, from where I stand right here, they kind of look down on us, on me, and they're not alone. They're up there with Erasmus, George Washington, and Leonardo da Vinci. And even more humbling are the children in the children's window, which is that small one way up and back there. It has rather quaint and sentimental portrayals of children, but I can't help imagine in some magical way that after listening to thousands of sermons, they're still waiting for the world to be as good as they are. Truly, we must be as children in a sense, I think, as Jesus said, if the kingdom of heaven is to find purchase among the cultured despisers like us. Therefore, I ask your help that I speak honestly in the ways that children understand, because even in our oldest moments, we are still children in our need to understand. And so I pray again that these words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be found true in thy sight, thou who art my rock and my Redeemer. Marking the fact that I am exactly halfway between when I began serving you and when we shall celebrate our 150th anniversary in 2019, last week I decided it was time to trust you with my deepest hopes and dreams for liberal religion and perhaps even for Fountain Street Church. As the ancient Rabbi Hillel once asked, if not now, when? When will there be a better, more propitious moment? How many of us have heard tales of people going to their graves wishing they had done more? Last week, I asked you to look past the long and noble commitment to free the mind and grow the soul and change the world, things we've been doing here almost since our beginning. And I asked you to look into why those are important. Because you see, it's just not enough to be different from everyone else. It might be momentarily satisfying and give you a sense of superiority from time to time, but the reality is we need a purpose that's good on its own terms, not just because it isn't like everyone else. And I asked you then to consider that we liberate and animate and agitate because, as I put it, everyone is the Messiah. And I really meant everyone. I don't mean everyone here. I do mean everyone everywhere, Christian or not, religious or not, because the word Messiah for me means someone who has a saving gift that the world needs. And I truly believe that the world we want is one that has a place for everyone to give the great gift they have. And in fact, it will be a great world when those gifts are freely given. There's a hoary tale that has been told up in character school and elsewhere of the man who, upon arriving at the supposed pearly gates, is informed that his record is kind of it's imprecise and not too clear, so he's going to have to choose between heaven and hell. And he's presented hell, where the people consigned there are in terrible misery because they are seated before a luscious banquet, and they can't eat it because their arms are long spoons that cannot be bent to reach their mouths. So they are doomed to look at this banquet and be forever starving. And so the guide takes them up to heaven, and behold, it's exactly the same experience, except that people in heaven know to reach across the table and feed the other person with their arms. A favorite hymn of mine, one that actually says our name, "Come thou fount of every blessing," has a verse that says, when we all help one another, then our heaven is begun. I believe that the liberal religious dream is a world filled with messiahs, people who have something to give that helps everyone else and want to give it and thrive in the giving and know that their lives are made whole in the giving. We exist, along with every other liberating church, to liberate and animate people to their saving power, their messianic gift, to the heaven that could exist when serving others is our greatest joy. This week I want to take the next step. If liberating and animating the world is our ultimate calling, our spiritual vision, then what sort of church do we need to be to do that? And I'll start, yes, with another story. I had a member say, you know, I really like all those stories you tell, and I'm a sucker for praise, so I'll tell you another story. It was about 11 years ago, almost precisely. It was in mid-February, I remember that one, on my one and only sabbatical, when we had taken our children and decided to not camp, but shall we say, dash through Europe, through small, cheap hotels, when my then 9-year-old and I left his mother and his big brother to go on the metro over to Trastevere, the section of Rome that's on the other side of the Tiber. And we went early to get a good spot in the Piazza San Pietro. And we staked out a place there in that great big oval that you see, to see the Pope come out of his apartment and bless everyone from his parapet. You've seen it on TV at least. Some of you may have actually been there. We had our binoculars with us because the window is very far up and hard to see. You can see a white splotch waving at you if you only come without glasses. And so as the people gathered and we saw them squinting, we passed our binoculars around and were thanked in Italian and in German and in other languages for helping the faithful see the Holy Father. That we were not among the faithful gave it an extra pleasure. At the appointed hour, a window opened, and a pendentive, that's a fancy name for a cloth that hangs over a ledge, spilled out, and the papal seal was there. The people cheered, and then he appeared, the late Pope, who was frail even then. And after saying a few words in several languages, for he is very gifted that way, he pronounced the blessing which is formally known as Ab Urbi et Orbi, to the city and the world. When churches talk about goals or strategic planning, and we're doing that these days, almost all of them say we want to grow the church. We want more people. We look around and say there are too many empty chairs here. At governing board meetings around the country, people are saying we need more butts in seats. What a cheerful thought that is. But of course, churches have been watching this go on for a long time. I'm looking at my colleague, now retired, Richard. How many churches have said we got to grow? All of them, right? And how many of them actually do? Almost none of them. And it's not because they don't try. It's not because they're not out there reading the books or doing the seminars or hiring the consultants. The reasons are larger than technique. People just don't want to go. The number of people claiming no religion is going up every year. And they're okay with that. They're not saying, I don't have a religion and I want one. They're saying, I don't have one and no thank you very much. The meaning, the need to go, the desire to go, the sense that one ought to go is just not there. And so that means we're competing for a smaller market. That is, of course, if we think of churches as businesses, and our job is to get people to come to them so that we can claim some kind of material or numerical success. And this is a very tempting analogy because we live in a world where market thinking is pervasive. It attaches to everything now. But that makes me want to ask, what if getting people to come to church isn't our mission? I want you to think about that. We are not collecting souls to go into the ark when this judgment day comes, right? We're not protecting them from the devil here, are we? As a matter of fact, I know of one member who was told when she came here that the devil comes here. I just wish he would pay his pledge. I understand he's quite wealthy. To be true to our deepest religious vision, we need to let go of the idea of getting more people in here and focus instead on serving more people out there. Because that's the natural consequence of believing everyone is a Messiah. If the only Messiahs we ever meet are the ones in here, the world's going to stay pretty lousy for a very long time. We need to get the word out to them that they have a role to play in creating this world that we know can be better. So that leads me to the next conclusion, that if everyone is the Messiah, and we're the one with the message, here comes the most radical thing you've ever heard. Everyone belongs to Fountain Street Church. We don't have 900 members. We have 6 billion members. They're just not aware of it yet. This idea began to grow in me when I reported to you, here comes my next story, of an experience my wife had one evening when we were holding the community Thanksgiving service here, and we had priests and clergy and rabbis and imams, except that one of the imams was late, the one that is part of the community that we meet with at Ramadan. And they come here, and for the first 3 years, we met here and ate here, and before the meal they have to make their prayers, and they invite us to observe them making them, and they do it in the chapel. And it turns out that the northeast corner is exactly the right direction to face. It has something to do with the Great Circle Route or something. But he remembered that, the imam, and he came in late because he was working with his community, and he saw my wife, whom he knew because of our work together, and said to her in his improving English, "I'm sorry I am late. I must make prayers. May I go into the chapel, and may I go into my usual place to make prayers?" I want you to pause for a moment. There is an imam in this city that believes he has a usual place at Fountain Street Church. His usual place, not a place, my usual place, the usual place. The place where Muslims go to pray at Fountain Street Church was the place he was looking for. He thought he belonged here. And a thought has blossomed in me to say, well, why shouldn't anyone, when they arrive here, say, I belong here? That no one should ever feel that they are a guest or an intruder, but the moment they walk in, say, oh, I should be here. Not all the time, but this too is my home.